Continuing our conversation on Veteran Stand Up with Tim Shaw about veteran entrepreneurship. Well, Tim, last time we talked about why be an entrepreneur. So let's talk brass tacks. I'm kind of convinced now. How does one go about actually becoming an entrepreneur?
Sure. So it's really exciting at that point, but you actually have to do the most unexciting things initially. And my favorite word is context and hence context ventures. And I tell veteran entrepreneurs and any entrepreneur, you should first get context on what you're building. So you should figure out what is already out there. How big is the market? How hard is the business? Who are the competitors? How are you going to build your first product? So, and many times the first few months is about measuring twice, if not thrice, and cutting once. Now, I tell entrepreneurs, you don't want to just be plan. You need to be execute. In fact, if I had to give a suggestion on execution versus planning, I would go on execution because you learn through execution much more than you'll get purely through planning. But you need a bit of planning in order to save yourself a lot of time and energy. The next thing is, of course, build a product or service that's wanted. If it's not wanted, then you won't get customers. And then go get customers, get customer feedback, get proof of concept customers, ideally get some paying customers, get customer feedback. Let's get what the customers are telling you, what they like and don't like. And then ideally have your customers refer other customers. If need be, go get investors. A lot of entrepreneurs think first and foremost, I need to get capital. That can often be the case if you're building something capital intensive, but for something that's more services or a product that's not as expensive, you don't necessarily need to get investors right off the bat. In fact, you should try to get investors when you don't need investors. That way you have the most leverage against investors like myself. And then make sure to take good care of yourself. You are the business as an entrepreneur. Like when people talk to you, that they're talking to the business manifested in a physical form. So take good mental health, physical health, take care of your family. You have to be really well balanced. And so those are some tips and guidance I'd have for entrepreneurs.
Now, you've talked to me about the ecosystem and tapping into that. So as an entrepreneur, who can help me?
The most helpful people are typically other entrepreneurs, and especially other veteran entrepreneurs. I find veteran entrepreneurs are the most helpful people. And it's because of that common linkage and tie-in between being a fellow veteran. I think I have collected a number of badges in my life, whether that's going to West Point or going through some schools in the Army or going through Stanford or joining clubs. But I will say at the end of the day, the group that has consistently always been available to help me and where I also try to reciprocally help is a veteran. I don't care if it's an Air Force veteran, a Coast Guard veteran, a Navy veteran. I don't even care, unfortunately, if they're Naval Academy and made a poor choice on going to the Naval Academy. I still want to try to help them. And so talk to your fellow veteran entrepreneurs. That's number one. And then talk to some veteran VCs who can hopefully connect you if you need capital.
And finally, some resources. Folks like to do research, as you say, not too much planning, but some homework.
For sure. So I mentioned Bunker Labs already. I mentioned our website has a paper around veteran entrepreneurship study. I mentioned the conference, the MilVet Startups Conference, and also the Veteran VC Office Hours. But there's also a veteran pitch competition that another venture firm is doing, the Veteran Venture Fund. And so that's a $100,000 pitch competition. There's a pitch competition at Rice annually. USAA is currently doing a pitch competition. So there's numerous pitch competitions, and there's a lot of books and resources. I would go beyond just the veteran entrepreneur ecosystem. I look at resources from Y Combinator. I look at articles on TechCrunch. I look at articles and podcasts from Andreessen Horowitz. It's probably never been a better time to start a company in terms of the resources and knowledge available at your fingertips.
Well, that's great advice. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paul.